Anywhere. Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Honourable. Yes, Mr. Honourable. Let's keep it coming, keep it up, keep it up. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Honourable. Welcome, and thank you for being here. Also, on the screen, please. Yes, please. Representing Ibarapa Central and Ibarapa North Federal Constituency in Oyo State, Nigeria, is a distinguished scholar and political strategist. He holds a brilliant project management professional PMP. Ibarapa is known for its philanthropic efforts, providing scholarships, building schools, and supporting community initiatives in its hometown. As a legislator, he has sponsored multiple bills, including the establishment of the Institute of Economists of Nigeria and medical education and infrastructure. His advocacy for the Nigerian people includes securing timely delivery of critical projects, protecting citizens' rights, and ensuring academic excellence. Adepoju, welcome to this program. Thank you. And we have the profile of Ms. Ofoarolu on, founder and CEO of Trigon Consulting. I hope I got that right. She leads strategic transformation initiatives for financial institutions, focusing on operational excellence and business growth. Also serves as a non-executive director at Sparkle Microfinance Retail Bank and holds various fintech and PEDC board positions. She has originated digital transformation programs across Europe, Asia, and Africa. Her leadership has woven finance resulted in a tenfold increase in transaction value within 12 months. Holds an executive MBA from Warwick Business School and actively involved in numerous professional organizations. Ms. Ofoarolu, thank you for coming and welcome. Thank you. And so let's have, it's a applause for her. Yes. And we have parties in corporate law, civil litigation, banking and finance. And the founder and CEO of MIM Finance Company Limited, he's dedicated to closing the access to finance gap in West Africa through innovative fintech solutions. George is also the co-founder of Ethical Resolve Limited, a firm supporting UK consumers in financial distress, and Ethical Resolve CC, a BPO company addressing graduate unemployment in Nigeria by outsourcing business operations. With a Master's in Business Administration from the University of Oxford, George's impact spans law, finance, and entrepreneurship, driving innovation and opportunity in multiple sectors. Let's welcome Dr. Welcome to the George. Thank you so much. And 30 years of experience in global technology and digital transformation, working across 20 plus countries. He holds degrees from the University of Ibadan, Cranfield University, University of London, among others, and has attended executive leadership courses at Harvard, MIT, and George Mason. He previously chaired Lido UK 2007 to 2011 and held leadership roles in Nigeria's public sector, including as general manager at NIMET 2010 to 2020, national title of Mogaji Ibadan, and enjoys documentaries, biopics, and family time. Let's welcome and of course for him. So I'm going to use Dr. Adepoju. I'll start with you. What made you tackle? What?
More me wanting to leverage on what I had learned here in Nigeria, gain more knowledge, and after gaining knowledge, I thought it was a good idea to come back to Nigeria and deploy what I had learned. But I have a story, and that story is one that I'll say inspired me, not just to be where I am today, but to be an overall better person. I'd like to share the story. Take about 5 minutes. We have that much time. Okay, good. So I started off in the polytechnic here in Nigeria. I had my ND and my HME, and when I finished, I went to serve. I served in the Lagos State, my NYC. And when I was done with my NYC, of course, the next thing is to look for a job. So I had an uncle who worked with one of the new generation banks at the time, who was an executive director who wanted to help me get a job with the bank. So he had said, well, go over to one of the branches we have in via drop the CV there. I'll get it over to me in the head office and, we'll go from there. So I dropped my CV with a lady I had met, at the reception, and she received my CV. And when I was walking out, she said, excuse me. So I looked back. I said, oh, can you come over here? So I went back to me and I said, well, I'm sorry we don't accept diplomas here. So I said, well, it's not diploma. I said, it's not diploma, it's HND. She said, what does the D stand for? So I literally had to, think about what HND really was. And at that point in time, I think it was a turning point in my life where I had to make several decisions. And one of those was not looking for a job anymore. I just felt I was better than what was offered me. So she inspired me. Unfortunately, I have not been able to reach out to her or see her again or something, So that was the point where I decided to say, you know what, I will not entertain this rejection. I'll be a better person. I will improve on my studies. So that inspired me to go get my bachelor's, get my MBA, my MSc, my PhD. I just went on the lanyards and certifications as well, and still looking for more certifications if possible. So, it was one of those that inspired me. And when you think about education, I think everybody has to put in the best. You have to be able to get this knowledge for whatever it is you want to do. Sometimes you may have that knowledge without being able to deploy it to whatever it is, but no knowledge is lost. Everything is important. You find out that it doesn't matter what position you are. Whatever you have learned over time, you can always leverage on it to make an impact wherever you're going, wherever you are. So after I finished my PhD, before I finished my PhD program, I had a business I was running in the US at the time, and just like most business owners here, you're always very worried about not being in that business. You think you're the only person that can run the business effectively and stuff like that. So when I wanted to start my PhD program, I knew I couldn't handle combining work and business and excel the way I wanted to excel. So I employed someone who managed the business for me, and he did it effectively. He was very effective in managing the business, and that also taught me some taking risks. When you take risks, it might not work out the way you want to work, but it might work out well. So I figured out very quickly that I am not the best person to run this business. I can always have this business run while I do other things. So while the business kept running, I decided to venture into politics, and politics was where I said, I have to come back home. So that brought me back.
Politics brought you back?
Politics brought me back home. Because I felt, I could actually contribute to make Nigeria, a better place. And so I came back here, and it's been great so far. I mean, I ran for office in 2019, ran for office in 2023, and in between then I worked with various government. So just His Excellency, between 19 and 23. And I think it's been great. inspiration, personal inspiration, and wanting to impact, wanting to come back to Nigeria to give back to this community that did a lot for me. So,
thank you, thank you. A round of applause for Honourable. Thank you so much. Mr. Honourable, tell me what determined the choice of Italy for you and why you have the travel.
I also have an MBA from World Business School. Why? My story is not one of Jack.
Okay.
Actually, of Jack.
Okay.
I left Nigeria at the age of 6 through no choice of mine. My mom told me we're going on holiday. And after about 2 years, it suddenly dawned on me that we are not on holiday, we actually moved abroad. It was December when we moved abroad, and I was greeted for the first time in snow. It was incredibly cold, and I knew straight away this is not going to work for me. So, nonetheless, I assimilated in the UK where we moved, and it was a great opportunity. My parents taught me how to, socialize and fit into the community, tenacity. You will face cultural differences, and there's a lot of soft skills that one has to learn very quickly. My name is Prof. You can imagine explaining Prof to British people. With Sean, you can change to Sean. All these, but there's no way to change before or it is what it is. So I very quickly had to, be very jovial about sharing myself, my culture with people. But I knew I would come back to Nigeria. Now,
You knew you were going to come back?
I knew I was coming back.
Because you don't like snow?
No, I don't like snow, and quite frankly, there's nothing like being, amongst your people.
No.
Is the only way I can describe it.
I got you.
And, I went through the education system, and when I got to university, I thought to myself, what do I want from education, and what do I want for my life? Education, I knew I was passionate about business and technology, so I decided to do that. And at that time, this is 1999 actually. Not many universities did information technology back then, so the options were slim in terms of universities I could go to. I narrowed it down to Coventry University. I also thought, which university would provide me with the opportunity to network with Nigerians? Because so far living in England, I hadn't really and truly. And again, Coventry was the bedrock of Nigerians. So I ended up in Coventry University, and it was a great experience. My dissertation was actually in the standardization of payment systems in Europe. Now, I'll come back to that in a moment. In my last year of my degree, I did a project management course. I enjoyed it, and I actually got the highest in that year. So I decided I'm going to go into project management in a bank. Now, through education and through that course, I decided that I'm not going to do masters. I had to break the news at that time to my family that I'm going to do certifications, because I looked at what do I need to get a job in the field of project management. So I did some Prince 2 PMPs and the like, showing the importance of getting certifications, complementing your core education. With that, I was able to secure a role in Credit Suisse in Switzerland as a project manager. So that is a clear example of how education can shape one's life. But one has to be very clear about what you want from the education experience. As I said, it's not only, the learnings, but also the soft sides, learning about culture, learning about people. So after that, a few years after Credit Suisse, I got an opportunity to move back to Nigeria. I was told that, you've got banking experience, you've got technology experience, and technology was budding back then. So, through networking, network opportunities that I made in university, I was able to come back to Nigeria, secure a role with FBN Quest, and, I got your uncle. I'll move on to my executive MBA very quickly, which I did at World Business School. You remember I said I did my first degree, my dissertation was on the standardization of payment systems in Europe. After my MBA, I got multiple offers in Nigeria to start the payment center. Again, showing how seeds of education that I sowed many, many years ago, as far back as 2003, was still paying dividends. So for me, it was, I had clarity in terms of what I wanted to do. With the grace of God, I was able to execute, and opportunities were able to arise. But it really was a case of positioning as well. having a good nature, engaging people, being open to opportunities, and having a good work ethic as well. I would like to close by saying that we do have some people like Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, that dropped out of school. But really and truly, if you look at their family, their legacy, they have a lot of support that allowed them to make those decisions. They entered Harvard, they didn't finish, but they saw clear opportunities that they could capitalize on, right? And even if it went wrong, they knew that they had plan B. A lot of people won't have that family structure. And with education, it opened doors. And once you have that certificate in your hand, nobody can take it away from you. So even with AI and the likes and the way we learn changing, I'm still an advocate of education as a means of opening doors. So I hope my testimony inspires people to take that.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. We'll tell us the story as quickly as possible. However, tell us why you chose to come back, and be part of what we do here in Nigeria. And what took you over to UK?
All right, so thanks for having me. Mine is slightly an hybrid of both of yours, because I started as a Japada, right? So my parents lived in London when I was growing up, and my dad had this wisdom to send me back to Nigeria with my grandparents to study. I also class myself a Mushi boy because I grew up in Mushi in Lagos, so I'm a Mushi boy, right? And when I came back, considering I grew up with loads of family members that studied abroad, it was, for me, inspiring that at some point I would go back. So I kind of started with Japada first, which was forced, and then I Japa. But my Japa at the time was more, for me at the time, it was kind of, I was going, like, I've had enough of Nigeria, right? Upon arriving in the UK, I embarked on, so my first degree was in accounting in Nigeria, and then I embarked on my desired qualification to be a lawyer. So I became a lawyer in the UK, I raised my family there. I would like to say I was a successful lawyer and renowned within the finance sector in Nigeria. Then I decided to go embark on a master's in business administration at Oxford. It was at this point, part of the program, you're all required to visit different countries as part of some of the courses. So we went to China, we went to India, we went to Palo Alto, California, and then we went to South Africa. It was the Indian trip that changed everything for me and caused me to come back. For the first time, amongst a lot of smart people, we were going through a program called Global Rules of the Game. And it became clear to me that I come from a place of great opportunities. That was kind of clear to me for the first time. And at this point, we're even looking at India, we're looking at China, we're looking at other countries, but I could see the opportunities was quite similar to where I come from. And that was when the penny dropped. And I honestly, at that point, became a true advocate. I forgot everything I was doing in the UK, and then I came back to Nigeria, set up a CBN regulated finance firm with a mission to make affordable finance accessible to as many Nigerians as possible. And there's a lot in that regard in terms of big mistakes being made because we thought we're going to do exactly what we do in the UK in Nigeria. Today we've got over 1.2 billion bad debt from loans we gave in our first year. Big mistake. But having said that, the business is evolved. We've learned a lot in terms of how to really do business in Nigeria, and it came to me that the global rules of the game that was being taught was truly about it's not the same everywhere. You just need to understand the nuances and what goes on in different countries. And then taking that back to this idea of leading the country and going to go source education. Going back to Coco's point, there's nothing more powerful than being knowledgeable and know exactly what you want and what you're doing, right? And sourcing knowledge, whether it's bivocational, or whether it's a degree, or whether it's whatever it is, right, could change your life if you know what you're doing. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be a university. It doesn't have to be anything, but you source knowledge and you know why you're doing it and you go execute.
Thank you, George. Thank you, George. Please round of applause for George. Thank you very much for your time. You see, it also, there's a link between the fact that at the point you got that clarity, at the point you got that conviction to come back. So thank you very much for sharing. I hope Dr. Kayode Thomas is listening to us. Okay, that was looking abroad. What inspired your course of study, and how do you want to impact that as inspiration for those who are listening to you now?
Right or not? So essentially, in my own case, I happen to have been in university. That's my alma mater there, University of UI. So I studied at the point when the military were in office, and those days were very dark days. Sorry to say, I think it was a budget that was around then. There was just the country was almost just stagnant. So this Japa is like interesting that has come to us. But I want to say this, that we need to ideally, we want to ensure that whatever we equip ourselves with is at international standards. I'm glad that when I believe it was the lady that had the award, Chief Pastor Mrs. Odubi, I came to Nigeria for almost 10 years. I came to the States. So a time comes in life where you want to be globally valuable. Yeah? And you must ensure that the tools you have, you can project those tools into almost anywhere at any point in time. I could be in Singapore, in China, in anywhere. Because I become what? An internationally mobile asset. Now, in terms of my own journey, military and Nigerian context kind of impacted us then. I think at least half of my year group, they are international now. I'll give you my own entry point in terms of making impact. I ask myself this: how do I spend my time and resources? I hope you can see the screen. How do I spend my time and resources as my politics and academics? So 4 degrees, I'm doing a PhD now. It's all about how do I build myself into an internationally viable product and an authority in what I'm doing. Yeah. In the political, what I've learned is that no matter how good you think you are economically or in family and are chosen, I'm saying this to those just starting out and to the students out there. How do you ensure that you start to build yourself into a person that attracts the value, attracts the value you want, irrespective of the content, whatever. It's always skills-based income you make. But you must think beyond, how do I leverage myself to going beyond my skills? Skills, you need education, and you need a sound one, a global one, to give you sort of international viability. But to come to one or two things I want to sort of share. When there's a problem, this whole thing of Japa, there's a context to it. Some people
adapt to the way we do things here in Nigeria.
Like
Exactly, it's like what he said. So it's not just about academics.
Okay.
It's about immersing yourself, in the environment where you want to dwell or where you hope to excel. But when you talk about opportunities, it doesn't matter what field you are in. You always have opportunities here. You only need to learn how to harness those opportunities, make the best out of it, and I'm sure the sky is the beginning for you.
Thank you. Yes, you also be coming to that.
I was just the point you made, Dr. Adebayo, on the premise that Nigeria is a developing country,
Okay.
and there is a lot of problems, right? And there is a lot for us to do. So whether you're an engineer, a doctor, there's always going to be that opportunity to add value. And I know a lot of engineers, I know a lot of tech people that actually come back to Nigeria and adding great value and making a lot of money and doing well.
Okay, before you want to do something?
Thank you. Myself, speaks to that. Acquired knowledge in different countries, and I've been able to deploy that knowledge in the banking sector and also in the payments fintech space, as well as my consulting firm. Just going back to what I think the focus should be in oneself a valuable candidate, worthy of attracting the market that you seek to play in, whether that be as an employee or as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. So ultimately it's around, acquisition of knowledge, skills, making yourself valuable. And you will find yourself in the right place. Nigeria, like anywhere else, it's a developing nation, as I said, but I think something to note is also that every country has its cycles, right? And every sector has its cycles. Technology had a boom. There's a global glut right now in terms of financing, so financing of tech businesses has gone down a little bit, so that has affected the market. But nonetheless, Nigeria has a lot of problems to solve. So for anyone that's willing to do the work, there are lots of opportunities.
Okay, so there are opportunities. Please, a round of applause for all of that and all the panelists. A round of applause for them. Let's encourage them. So I think that's it. Except if you have any other comment, I mean that's about all we have to do here. So let's thank this panel, the members of this panel. We want to thank them. All right. So let's just take a picture. Let's have the picture now. Maybe, yes, maybe I don't know. Let's join.
No, do just now.